Howdy my totally always tubular gamers, we are back with another video, and today I got something a little different for you. Today we're going to be going over the Game Award nominees. See, just today, really just this morning, the Game Awards 2024, which is Geoff Keighley's show, announced all of their nominees for not only Game of the Year, but all of the categories, and I thought it would be a fun little video to go through this entire list, not only to inform all you beautiful people, but to share my thoughts, feelings, and maybe even give some predictions. What makes me different from any other Joe Schmo? Well, I don't know about my man Joe Schmo, but I've actually played almost every major release this year. I've finished over 100 games and am still playing through a bunch of them. I got a bunch of fun end of year videos coming up, but this is, I guess, just a little window, a little preview into that, if you will. So, sit down, get the popcorn, get the beef jerky, start going to bed, start the car up, however you watch or listen to my videos. We're going to be going over every single category, discussing all of the nominations, and I'll give my prediction. It is also worth mentioning the Game Awards is just one singular outlet that gives out Game Awards. There's tons upon tons of outlets like GameSpot, IGN, etc. that also give out Game Awards. This one's just called the Game Awards. And the last thing I want to bring up is probably pretty obvious, but I'll say it anyway because you know how people in the comments be. I did not choose any of these nominations. Me, Totally Tubular Jonathan, did not choose any of these. I'm just reading off what Geoff and his team or his people selected, and that's all there is to it. There's not going to be all that much when it comes to video in this video. I'm mostly going to just have B-roll from all the games I've played this year, and this is not indicative as to what I would have for Game of the Year or what I would have in some of these categories. Anyway, let's get started. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. I got the Patreon and the super thanks. Any support is truly greatly appreciated. If you want to see a bunch of Game Awards coverage, maybe you ought to subscribe. It's that fun season where we get to look back on all of the year and see which games were really awesome. So let's start with the first category here. This is obviously the big one, the Game of the Year, what they perceive as the best game you could play in 2024 that came out in 2024. So here are the nominees for Game of the Year. They have Astro Bot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. Let's just address the elephant in the room. They have a DLC on here. They have Elden Ring Shadow of Erdtree. They made a post about it a few days ago stating that if it was enough of an original creative experience, it would be nominated for Game of the Year. But to be 100, I just don't really agree with nominating a DLC for Game of the Year. Like, not to downplay Shadow of Erdtree's quality, not at all. It's just Shadow of Erdtree is so interconnected to Elden Ring itself, which came out like 2 years ago. You have to get mad far in Elden Ring to even get to Shadow of Erdtree. Like, yes, this is a new experience, but it's not a new standalone game, and I just don't think that it should be nominated for Game of the Year with all these other standalone games when the simple fact is it still is interconnected with Elden Ring. Again, I'm not totally downplaying its quality or anything like that. This is just my opinion, but if they wanted to give this game a big award, maybe have DLC or Expansion of the Year award or something. It could go up against Shadow Generations, but we all know Shadow would win in that category anyway. Either way, let's look at what we do actually have presented to us and not what we don't have. So let's talk about the other games. We've talked enough about Shadow of Erdtree. We have Astro Bot, which is a fantastic 3D platformer. That's like one of the best games PlayStation has put out in the last decade. Like, just a truly excellent game through and through. We have Balatro, which definitely took the world by storm earlier this year. I don't think there's ever been a poker game, or really a card game, that's anywhere near this good, and it's crazy that a card game is nominated for Game of the Year. When was the last time that happened? Has that ever happened? The only thing I can think of being nominated is like Hearthstone. I'll have to do some research on that one. We have Black Myth Wukong, which honestly I didn't expect to see on the list here. Like, I just finished it last week, and I think Black Myth Wukong is a pretty good game, but Game of the Year material, I don't know about that. I definitely had some issues with it, but it's pretty cool that like a big Chinese developers got a game nominated for Game of the Year. I think that's really awesome. Like I mentioned, we got Shadow of Erdtree, which may or may not win the whole thing. Then we have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is an excellent game, one of the best Final Fantasy games ever, and despite a few pacing issues and taking up a lot of your time, I still think it is a really great game. Then we have Metaphor ReFantazio. I'm still playing through this one, actually. It's such a massive game, but it is so good. It is like a much more serious Persona with its own unique identity, and it's been nothing but awesome. of these games, which do I think is going to win Geoff Keighley's Game of the Year award? I hate to say it, but I just have this feeling that Shadow of Erdtree will somehow win Game of the Year. Again, I don't agree with that. I don't think it should even be nominated, but I just have this feeling in me that somehow it's going to walk away with that. I know a lot of people really love Shadow of Erdtree. It is awesome. It's maybe the best expansion of the last decade. But damn it, I want to see a new original game win Game of the Year. So if it's not Shadow of Erdtree, my second choice is probably going to be Astrobot. I just have a feeling it's going to be Astrobot. And then third place I'd say is probably Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And then my last place pick, the game that I don't think is going to win it, but it would be crazy if it did, is Balatro. That would be pretty incredible. Either way, there's a lot of great experiences nominated for Game of the Year, and I'm sure plenty of people are going to sit here and debate this game should have been selected instead, this game should have been selected instead, and we could do that all day. But as I like to say in my videos, let's look at what we actually have presented to us instead of what we could have had. This is what they've nominated for Game of the Year, this is what they believe are the best experiences you could have all year, and it's pretty hard to argue with them. So let's move on to the next category. Here we got Best Game Direction. So I guess the direction the team took with the story, the art style, the gameplay, etc. And funny enough, it's exactly the same nominees as Game of the Year. So we got Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. I have a very good feeling whatever wins their Game of the Year is going to win Best Game Direction, so it very well could be Shadow of Erdtree, but if it's not, it could be Balatro, it could be Astrobot, maybe it's Metaphor ReFantazio. I'll be happy with any of these outside of Shadow of Erdtree. Not to hate or dunk more on Shadow of Erdtree, but come on. Best Game Direction, it should be a brand new game from the ground up, not an expansion to a 2-year-old masterpiece. Anyway, let's move on to the next category, which is a bit more interesting. We have Best Narrative, so the best story in a game all year. We've got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Metaphor ReFantazio, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2. There's some pretty awesome stories here. I would say that all of these games have fantastic narratives, and if you're someone who likes narrative-driven experiences, then yeah, you've been eating real good this year. So let's go over the nominations. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This is technically kind of a remake of Final Fantasy VII in its story. Yeah, they add a significant amount of content to every single aspect, but at the end of the day, you know, its DNA is still rooted in that PS1 game. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, I love the narrative to this game. I think it's so good. I'm not huge on the ending, but I really do like this game's story. Metaphor ReFantazio, there's no denying that game's quality when it comes to the story. It's excellent. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, I think the story's pretty good in it, but I am not huge on that game's ending. And then we have Silent Hill 2, which is just a full-blown remake, and you know, the story of Silent Hill 2 has always been amazing, and they added on to it a bit with this remake. Which do I think is going to win their best narrative of the year? I believe it's going to be Metaphor ReFantazio. I think that game just has a wonderful narrative, but the other thing is it's completely original. Like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Silent Hill 2 have fantastic stories as well, but those are rooted in older games. They are kind of remakes when it comes to their narrative, especially Silent Hill 2. Infinite Wealth has a really good story, but I just don't feel like it would win it. And then Hellblade 2, while I like the story, I just think it's the weakest of these 5 games when it comes to its narrative. Either way, these all have great narratives. So our next category is Best Art Direction. This is based off of how the game looks visually. So which games do we got here? We got Astrobot, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring Shadow of Erdtree, Metaphor ReFantazio, and Neva. All of these games do have very good art directions. I love Astrobot's art direction. It feels more like a Pixar movie, kind of reminds me of WALL-E. It's really great. Black Myth Wukong, that game looks incredible. Like, I don't even have a super powerful PC, and it looked great on my computer. Like, very good looking game. Shadow of Erdtree, yeah, it's here. It does have a very good art direction, but man, it's just Elden Ring's art direction again. Anyway, then we have Metaphor ReFantazio. I just adore how this game looks. It looks so good. It's so stylized. The menus are just amazing. And then we have Neva. Neva's actually a really good looking game. Also, if you're not familiar with this one, it was made by the people who made Gris, and it has a really unique look to it. What do I think is going to win their best art direction of the year? I'm gonna go with Metaphor ReFantazio. Like, that game just has so much style and personality. I think it just looks amazing. Like, it looks fantastic, and the menus alone, I think, give it the award of best art direction. So let's move on to the next category. Here we got Best best score in music. We have Astrobot, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metaphor ReFantazio, Silent Hill 2, and then we got Stellar Blade in there. Stellar Blade did a good one. All of these games have pretty good music. Astrobot does have very good music to it, and it's like almost all completely original. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth also has some really amazing music, but I won't lie, a lot of it is from that original game. Metaphor ReFantazio, this game has such a unique soundtrack, like it is really great music. Silent Hill 2, yeah, it's Silent Hill 2 like the original's music, and then there's a bunch of remixes and a few new things. And then we got Stellar Blade. I'm actually pretty glad to see Stellar Blade in there. I think Stellar Blade is a fantastic soundtrack. It's one of the best aspects of that entire game. Which do I think is going to win best score in music? If you asked me, if you put a gun in my head, I'd probably say Metaphor ReFantazio or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I think it's kind of a toss-up between those two. I'm going to lean more on Metaphor ReFantazio since it is such an original score and it isn't derivative of any previous games or anything like that, like how Rebirth, again, it's a lot of remixes and older tunes coming back. But I'd love to be totally wrong and see Stellar Blade win best music, like that would be pretty cool. Alright, next area, we got audio design. So this isn't the music, this is more like the sound effects, voice acting, and how everything really just comes together to make the experience. So, the nominees are Astrobot, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2. Remember, this isn't music or narrative, this is audio design, and when it comes to those, I think all of these are great. Astrobot has some really awesome audio design. There's a lot of amazing sound effects, and the way everything just blends together for every single level, it's really great stuff. Black Ops 6 has surprisingly great audio design. The guns sound amazing in this game. I don't think anybody's going to deny that, and it just makes for a really bombastic experience. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the way everything comes together, it's really great stuff. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, this game's audio design is incredible. The way all of the voices talk to you, the grueling sound effects, and everything going on in Senua's head, I think it's really, really good. And then Silent Hill 2, yeah, I think it's really great also, even if it is just kind of reusing what the older game had. Which do I think is going to win? I actually think Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 is going to win. It's very unique, it's different, and it's just exceptionally well done. There's like no other game that has this game's audio design. Like, I'm going to go with Hellblade 2. If it's not Hellblade 2, I'm going to probably say it's Black Ops 6. And I'm not saying that I personally think Black Ops 6 has the best audio design. That's just what I think they're going to choose. Either way, these are all good. So our next category is Best Performance, which is awarded to an individual for voiceover acting, motion, and or performance capture. So who was the best actor? Here are the nominees. We have Brianna White for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. She was Aerith. We have Hannah Tell for Life is Strange Double Exposure. She's our main character, which in this game is Max. We have Humberly Gonzalez, who's the main character of Star Wars Outlaws. Then we have Luke Roberts, who's James in Silent Hill 2, and Melina Juergens, who's Senua in Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. All of these actors gave very good performances. I'm not going to question who they chose or why they chose. When looking at all of these, which do I think is going to win it? I'm going to go with maybe Melina Juergens for Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. Again, everybody did a fantastic job, but I just feel like she did a great job in Hellblade 2. Like, she really sold her character incredibly well. And I think her motion capture was fantastic also, like some of the best I've ever seen in any video game. Aerith was really great, Max is great, and Kay Vess from Star Wars Outlaws was pretty good also. I'm kind of surprised to even see her on here. And then of course James in Silent Hill 2, yeah, he is pretty good, but I don't want to see him win. And it has nothing to do with the actor or anything like that. I think Luke Roberts did a great job. I just don't want to see anything related to James win just because of what happens in the game. Sometimes it's as simple as that. Anyway, let's move on to the next category. So here we have innovation in accessibility, which is, as the Game Awards says, recognizing software and or hardware that is pushing the medium forward by adding features, technology, and content to help games be played and enjoyed by an even wider audience. I think this is really great, because it means more people who might not have been able to experience video games now get to play games. People who traditionally couldn't play games might actually be able to play some of these games, and of course it could be for a variety of reasons. So let's go over the games. We have Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Diablo 4, Dragon Age: The Veilguard, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, and Star Wars Outlaws. First off, I'm going to say I don't know why Diablo 4 is on there. That came out last year. I know there was the expansion. I'm guessing they must have added all of the innovation aspects this year versus last year. But man, what if like any other game just added them retroactively? Could they get nominated as well? When it comes to what I think is going to win this, I think it's going to be Dragon Age the Veilguard. That game does seem to have some very good accessibility options. Outside of being colorblind, I'm not the most disabled individual, so maybe I'm not the best judge for something like this, and so yeah, we'll just move on. So our next category is Games for Impact, and as the Game Awards website says, this is for a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message. The games we have nominated are Closer the Distance, Indica, Neva, Life is Strange Double Exposure, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, and Tales of Kenzera Zao. All of these do have pretty good messages, and those are some of the strongest aspects of these games. I haven't really put a ton of time into Closer the Distance, but I was liking what I was seeing so far. Indica, I think that game actually does have a pretty good message. Neva is a very emotional game for sure. Life is Strange Double Exposure, yeah, it does. I haven't finished that one yet, but it so far has had a pretty good meaning. Hellblade 2, yeah, it's got a great message to it. And then Tales of Kenzera Zao, haven't really messed around much with this one, but everything I've seen suggests that it does have a very good message. Which do I think is going to win it? It's either going to be Indica or Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 in my opinion. Hellblade 2, I want to say probably is the best message, but also it is a sequel. Part of the message has already been said in the first game. I really did like the narrative and message though of Hellblade 2, so that's probably going to be my pick. I could see it being really any of these games though. Oh boy, so here we got Best Ongoing Game, which is awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time. So these are, you know, the live service games. So we got Destiny 2, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Helldivers 2. And I will say when it comes to live service games, these really are the cream of the crop. It doesn't get much better than this. We've got Destiny 2, which did have a major expansion this year. I know a lot of people really liked it. Diablo 4 also had an expansion. Final Fantasy 14 has had continued support, and I believe it also had an expansion. Yes, it did. Fortnite, it's Fortnite. And then Helldivers 2 actually released this year and has been getting constant updates. Which do I think is going to get this? I'm going to probably go with Fortnite. Fortnite has just consistently been updated over and over and over, and they've made some major changes to Fortnite, not only as a game, but a platform. They have added so much to it. It's like a completely different game now, and the amount of different ways you can play this game is pretty crazy. Not to discount the other games, not at all, especially Helldivers 2. I mean, I was literally part of the game's production, but I'm going with Fortnite here. I think this is the best live service title of them all. So our next category is Best Community Support, recognizing a game for outstanding community support, transparency, and responsiveness, inclusive of social media activity and game updates / patches. I guess this is more on the social media team than anything else, but the nominees are Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, Helldivers 2, and No Man's Sky. Baldur's Gate 3, Larian has been great with the updates. They've been constantly updating and patching. Like, there was no expansions or anything for it, but I just think the community support's been really good for that one. Final Fantasy 14, they're as responsive as ever. Fortnite, Epic Games has been very on it with their community team. Helldivers 2, yeah, Arrowhead has been very on it, more so than even SIE. And then No Man's Sky, Hello Games, I don't really know why exactly they're nominated, but I guess they've also been pretty on it. If I had to guess which one is going to get it, I'll probably go with either Helldivers 2 or Fortnite. They've been both very responsive, but I'd love to see Baldur's Gate 3 win it just because, man, I love Baldur's Gate 3. Alright, get those less exciting categories out here. Here we got a really big one, and if you don't think it's big, you should. We have Best Independent Game for outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside of the traditional publisher system. I always really look at Best Independent Game. Our nominees are all excellent. We have Animal Well, Balatro, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, Neva, and UFO 50. Yeah, it's pretty hard to argue that these aren't the best indie games that have come out all year. There's obviously been tons upon tons of amazing indie games, but these 5 are all very high quality. Animal Well, I love this game. One of the best Metroidvanias ever. Balatro, it's an amazing card game. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, I haven't really messed around too much with that one, but I know a lot of people love it. Neva, that's an emotional, amazing experience. And then UFO 50, that game just goes crazy. Like, it absolutely does. Which do I think is going to win their indie game of the year? I'm going to go with Balatro. I mean, Balatro's already nominated for game of the year. It just seems kind of inevitable that it would win then indie game of the year. If it's not going to be that, I'm probably going to go with Animal Well, though. But outside of these 5 games, there have been some really amazing indie games this year, like truly amazing, and I'm just glad that all 5 of these are getting the love that they deserve. So our next category is Best Debut Indie Game, for the best debut game created by a new independent studio. So when it comes to these studios, it was literally their first game, or this individual, literally their first game. We have Animal Well, Balatro, Manor Lords, Pacific Drive, and The Plucky Squire. All very good games. Animal Well, it really is just a fantastic game. Balatro, it's also excellent. Manor Lords has just been killing it. Like, that game has had wild success. Pacific Drive, I did not realize that was their first game. Pacific Drive was cool also, and The Plucky Squire was pretty good. I could see this being a toss-up between Animal Well, Balatro, and Manor Lords, but if you ask me which one I think is going to win it, I think Balatro's going to win it. I think this game's just going to have total dominance on the indie scene, at least when it comes to the awards. Like, people really love Balatro, and it's not hard to see why. So our next category isn't exactly one I'm crazy familiar with. It is Best Mobile Game, for the best game playable on a mobile device. As you know, I don't really mess with mobile games. I don't really play mobile games. I got enough console games to play, but we've got AFK Journey, Balatro, Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket, Wuthering Waves, and Zenless Zone Zero. I don't really have much experience with any of these except Balatro. Yeah, I'm going with Balatro. I think, again, just total Balatro dominance. Like, I could have had a more nuanced take here, but I'm just not really a mobile game guy. Never have, never will be. I'm going with Balatro. So the next category we got here is Best VR and AR Game. So this is for the best game experience playable in virtual or augmented reality, irrespective of the platform. We have the Arizona Sunshine Remake, Asgard's Wrath 2, Batman Arkham Shadow, Metal Hellslinger VR, and Metro Awakening. Kind of like the mobile games, I'm not really huge on VR games. I currently don't even have a VR headset, so maybe I'm not the best judge here. I won't really go much further than that or go into each of these games, since I'm just not crazy familiar with how every single one plays, and I don't think I'd be a fair judge at all. I'm gonna just throw a dart and say Batman Arkham Shadow. That game looked pretty cool, and move on. Alright, here we got a category I can actually speak a lot on. We have Best Action Game, for the best game in the action genre focused primarily on combat. Our nominees are Black Myth: Wukong, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, and Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. All of these are fantastic action games. These are some of the best action games all year, full stop. Black Myth: Wukong, oh yeah, that's a really good one. Like, the game is pretty good, and it was honestly better than I ever thought it was going to be. Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Yeah, it's another Call of Duty, but this is the best Call of Duty in quite some time. I did very much enjoy it. Helldivers 2. Yeah, it's also a pretty good one. I know it came out a bit earlier in the year, but you gotta remember, people were going absolutely nuts for this game in the first, few months. Stellar Blade, another really solid one. This is actually way better than I thought it would be as well. And then Warhammer Space Marine 2. Space Marine 2 is one of my favorite games all year for sure. Which do I think is going to win Best Action Game of the Year for the Game Awards? I'm probably going to go with Black Myth: Wukong. And if it's not going to be Black Myth: Wukong, I hate to say it, I'll probably just go with Black Ops 6. That does seem like the easy pick. I personally would probably have Space Marine 2 above both of them, but I think they're going to choose Black Myth: Wukong out here. So the next category we got here is Best Action Adventure Game. For the best action adventure game, combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. That's a bit vague, to be honest, but I do like the games they have selected. So the nominees are Astro Bot, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Silent Hill 2, Star Wars Outlaws, and The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. All of these are pretty good. I am a bit surprised to see Star Wars Outlaws in here. Like, I think it's a good game, but compared to all of these other games, it's definitely the weakest game in my opinion. I think Astro Bot is a fantastic action-adventure game. Again, it was just one of the best experiences all year. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, I know this came out back in January, but man, this game was actually really good. I don't like the treatment that this game has gotten. People have just straight up ignored this game. No. This game's awesome. Silent Hill 2, it's Silent Hill 2. And then The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. I'm kind of surprised this wasn't nominated for Game of the Year. Like, it's a really good game, and it does something a little different with the Zelda formula. Which do I think is going to win? I think it's going to be either a toss-up between Astro Bot or Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. I'm going to try to be different. I'm going to say I think that Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom is going to win their best action-adventure game, but my gut says it's probably going to be Astro Bot. Alright, another big category, we have Best RPG, for the best game designed with rich player customization and progression, including massively multiplayer experiences. 2024 was the year of the RPG. Like, There were so many amazing RPGs that came out this year, more so than like any other genre. RPGs just dominated this year. And so when it comes to the nominees, we got Dragon's Dogma 2, Elden Ring Shadow of Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. All of these are amazing. These are some of the best RPGs of not only this year, but the last like decade. Dragon's Dogma 2 has been awesome. It's just as good as the first game. Shadow of Erdtree, we've talked enough about that one. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is just this massive, amazing RPG. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, I love this game. I just love this game to death. It is so good. Like, I can't get over just how good this game is. And then we got Metaphor ReFantazio, which is an excellent RPG as well. Which do I think is going to win these? I think it's a toss-up between almost all of them. The only one that I don't think really has a great shot of winning is Dragon's Dogma 2. I think it could be any of these other ones, but my gut says it's going to be Shadow of Erdtree. I'd love to see Metaphor ReFantazio win though. Either way, we were eating really good for RPGs this year. Like, if you don't like RPGs, now's the year to get into them. That's all I'll say. Alright, another big one for me personally, we have Best Fighting Game. For the best game designed primarily around head-to-head combat, the nominees are Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Granblue Fantasy vs. Rising, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics, Multiverses, and then Tekken 8. Yeah, it's pretty obvious which one's going to win here. It's going to be Tekken 8. There's like no way it's any of these other games, right? Like Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, which I've been playing through, it's pretty fun. But Fighting Game of the Year, I don't think so. I could really say the same thing about Granblue Fantasy vs. Rising. Definitely better than the first Granblue fighting game, but Fighting Game of the Year, I don't think so. I don't know how the MVC Fighting Collection got nominated. That's just kind of funny. Multiverses, yeah, absolutely not. Tekken 8 is Tekken 8. It's like an amazing fighting game. I know a lot of people are mad about the monetization, battle pass bullshit, but the core gameplay, oh, it's fantastic. It's like the best Tekken has ever been. I really enjoyed Tekken 8, and I think it's an excellent game. There's no way Tekken 8 doesn't win this. Our next category is Best Family Game, for the best game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform. Family game might not seem very important to you or me, but for people with kids or larger families, it very much absolutely is. And when I look at this, usually my mind immediately goes to Nintendo, but there were two other games that were not Nintendo that were nominated this year. We've got Astrobot, Princess Peach Showtime, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and The Plucky Squire. Astrobot is very family friendly, and I think anybody could like the game. Princess Peach Showtime, I have only played a little bit of this game. I got it from my partner as like a gift and played a few hours of it. I wasn't totally loving it, to be honest. I just felt like I was completely the wrong demographic. Super Mario Party Jamboree, this game is great. This is like the best Mario Party maybe ever. Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, it's a great game that I think anybody can enjoy. And The Plucky Squire, that's an interesting choice. I didn't expect to see it on there. Like, yeah, it is very family friendly, but I genuinely am a bit surprised to see it nominated for a topic like this. I guess there wasn't another Nintendo game they could nominate. Between all of these, I'm gonna go with Astrobot winning. I think Astrobot will probably win this, but I would love to see Super Mario Party Jamboree win. Like, Super Mario Party Jamboree is actually pretty good. And when I say pretty good, I don't mean just like pretty good for a Mario Party game. I mean pretty good in general. Like, this is a great game that you can have a lot of fun with, and I can't believe just how much stuff is in Jamboree. I'd love to see Jamboree win, but I think they're probably going to select Astrobot here. So our next category is Best Sim/Strategy. Best game focused on real-time or turn-based simulation or strategy gameplay, irrespective of platform. So when it comes to sim and strategy games, I don't play a ton of these, but I actually have dabbled a bit in these games. We've got Age of Mythology Retold, Frostpunk 2, Kunitsu-Gama, Path of the Goddess, Manor Lords, and Unicorn Overlord. When it comes to sim strategy games, yeah, I think all of these are very well regarded. Age of Mythology, I mean, that game's a classic, and this new version seems better than ever. Frostpunk 2, I haven't personally played much of this one, but I have watched some friends play it, and it seems to be just as good as the first one. Kunitsu-Gama, Path of the Goddess is actually way better than it has any right to be, and the game is honestly kind of underrated. Manor Lords, that game's absolutely killing it, like I said. And then Unicorn Overlord, I wish I've put more time into this. Like, what I have put in, I've enjoyed it, but I just want more time with this one because it seems really awesome. Which do I think is going to win it here? I'm going to go with Unicorn Overlord. I feel like any of these games could honestly win it, but I'd love to see Vanillaware finally get some recognition. So that's why I'm going to go with Unicorn Overlord, but Very good year for sim strategy games. Alright, here we have everyone's favorite best sports/racing game for the best traditional and non-traditional sports and racing games. We have F1 24, EA Sports FC 25, NBA 2K25, Top Spin 2K25, and WWE 2K24. Yeah, I'm not going to act like a pro here. This isn't really my field. I don't mess around with sports games. I don't really try the F1 games every year. There's just so many of them. So I guess that leaves WWE 2K24. Yeah, that's a good wrestling game. I'm not going to say it's one of the best wrestling games ever, but you know, it was decent enough. Which do I think is going to win it? I'll just say like Top Spin or WWE. I don't fucking know with this one, honestly. I couldn't really care. There's not any interesting or exciting racing games on here or any non-traditional sports games. It really is just the usual suspects, and I don't really mess around with sports games in general. This was a pretty weak year when it came to racing games. So it doesn't surprise me that there's only one racing game in this entire category, unfortunately. So our next category is Best Multiplayer for outstanding online multiplayer gameplay and design, including co-op and massively multiplayer experiences, irrespective of game genre or platform. There were some very good multiplayer games this year, and I think this list reflects that. We've got Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Tekken 8, and Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. When it comes to new multiplayer games that came out this year, yeah, this really is like the cream of the crop. I don't think it really gets any better than this. These were all pretty great, and we've got a nice little wide spread here. Black Ops 6, it's more Call of Duty, but it feels really refined, and it's the best multiplayer Call of Duty's had in quite some time, in my opinion. Helldivers 2, it's really great stuff, some of the best co-op fun. Super Mario Party Jamboree is Mario Party, but the online actually kind of slaps. There's even a Battle Royale mode. Tekken 8, it's got better online than Tekken 7, which had good online as well. And then Space Marine 2, I love the multiplayer of this game. It's just such a fun throwback where there's a co-op mode, there's the operations, and then actual PvP as well. Like, it's got a lot going on, and I would love to see Space Marine 2 win this. I really would, but when it comes to what I think is going to win, I think it's probably going to be Black Ops 6. And yeah, that's an especially dull pick, but I think it's probably going to be Black Ops 6. I'd love to see really any of these other games win, but I also get that Black Ops 6 does actually have good multiplayer. So our next one is something different. We have Best Adaptation, recognizing outstanding creative work that faithfully and authentically adapts a video game to another entertainment medium. This is, you know, when a video game becomes a show or a movie, basically. And this year I feel like we had some pretty good ones. There's Arcane, there's Fallout, Knuckles, Like a Dragon Yakuza, and Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft. And while I personally haven't watched all of these all the way through, in my mind there really is only one winner. It's gotta be Fallout. Like, Fallout was just amazing. That was like the best video game adaptation I've ever seen for a TV show. Like, it was excellently done, and it made me fall in love with the games all over again. Like, the Fallout TV show was really good shit. I'm kind of surprised Knuckles was nominated here, but it is what it is. You know, we all do love Knuckles, and as for the other ones, I mean, they're there. They're absolutely there. There's no movie nominated here, but I don't really think there was many, if any, game movies this year, at least up until this point. I know Sonic 3 is coming sooner than later. Alright, we're winding things down here with Most Anticipated Game, recognizing an announced game that has demonstrably illustrated potential to push the gaming medium forward. So, you know, Most Anticipated Game, Most Hyped Game. We've got a few nominees here. We got Death Stranding 2 On the Beach, Ghost of Yotei, Grand Theft Auto 6, Metroid Prime 4, and Monster Hunter Wilds. All of these do look very good, but it's pretty obvious which one's going to win. It's going to be GTA 6. Like, GTA 6 is probably the most anticipated game ever. That is not an hyperbole or an exaggeration. It doesn't get much more hype than GTA 6. I'd be shocked if anything else wins this. I don't even know what else could win this. Probably Monster Hunter Wilds, but it's going to be GTA 6. And so here we got the last category I'm going to be looking at today. We got Content Creator of the Year for a streamer or content creator who has made an important and positive impact on the community in 2024. There's a few people listed here. Don't really know exactly who they are, but you already know who the Content Creator of the Year is. It is totally Tubular Jonathan. Yeah, I'm going to be that guy. I'm voting for myself. And if you choose to vote and made it to this part of the video, maybe you should consider voting for me. Just saying. I'm just saying. Look, there's other people here, and I'm sure they make great content, but I just kind of focus on me. I call that a bad thing, good thing, whatever. It just is what it is. There were 3 other categories here. There is Best Esports Game, Best Esports Athlete, and Best Esports Team. To be honest, I'm just completely unqualified when it comes to talking about those. Like, I have no idea when it comes to any of these, so I'm not really going to talk about them here. And this video's gone on way longer than I anticipated it would, but there's a lot of categories to go over here, and I got a little bit to say for all of them. So let me know what you all think down below. This was just a fun little video, tried to do something different. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you made it to this part of the video, you can tell me who you're going to vote for. So it's not necessarily one code word here or anything like that. I will be voting as well because I want to see all of these games succeed. And you know, at the end of the day, this is all just kind of for fun. Yeah, it's a way that they recognize achievements in the gaming industry, but I mean, this is just one outlet. There's plenty of other outlets that exist that give out awards as well. Maybe I should even give out my own awards. The Totally Tubular Awards. Well, you know who's getting Totally Tubular Content Creator of the Year? It's this guy. I'll see myself out now. Everyone stay safe, y'all. Bye-bye.